Alright, you guys voted for this. We're analyzing every gun in Battlefield 4. Here we go. Battlefield 4 is set in the year 2020, but is missing the main thing we all remember from 2020, so basically it's completely inaccurate. We could end the video there, but we won't. How accurate are the guns of Battlefield 4? Do they still hold up not only 11 years after the game's launch, but 5 years after the game was set? Let's talk about our tier list using the same footage from the Black Ops 2 video, because I love recycling. To organize my findings, allow me to introduce the tier list. At the top of the tier list, we have the in-service tier, where the guns go that are currently in active duty with a military or police force somewhere in the world. After that, we have the in-service different name tier, where guns that are currently being used but have been given different names for legal purposes will be deposited. The was in service tier will contain weapons that are no longer in service after being adopted by a military or police force. The never adopted tier will go to weapons that were never officially adopted but did make it past the prototype stage, which is the next tier on the list. Finally, we have the does not exist tier, where weapons that are entirely invented for this game will be placed. Two more things before we start. Number one, all of our gameplay footage was graciously provided by YouTuber Omeih, who kindly agreed to help me out since there's a buttload of guns in this game and I haven't unlocked them all. Please go sub to his channel because he's way better at this game than I am. Second, we will be releasing each category as its own video, and then when the last video is out, I will release a supercut of all the previous videos, so that way you can watch them all in one place. Without any further ado, let's begin. Starting off, we're looking at the primaries, specifically the assault rifles. Let's begin with the ACE-23, which is based on the real Galil ACE-23 variant, chambered in 5.56 NATO, manufactured by Israeli Weapon Industries. It is a continuation of the classic Galil rifle, itself a modification of the Kalashnikov rifle. This is a real gun that has its own webpage on the IWI website under this exact name, and it is in use by the Israeli military as well as a variety of other armed forces and police units throughout the world. In-service tier, starting out strong. Next up, we have the AEK-971, and it is based on a real gun of the same name that has an insane 900 RPM rate of fire, which has been put into the game. It's an interesting weapon, and it was actually tested against our next rifle, unfavorably so, but it was updated into the Cord 6P67 and was adopted into service. Haha, 6.7, haha, it's funny. The original rifle was in use by Russian paramilitary forces of the MVD, but little data exists about what they are currently using. Since the updated version is in use by Russian forces and the MVD could still be using it, I'll put this one in the in-service tier as well. Next is the AN-94, and I'm just going to reuse the audio from the Blops 2 video since nothing has changed since January of this year regarding the use of that rifle. Our last design is another weird Russian gun, and it's one that's very interesting. The AN-94 is a really interesting design out of Russia that improves and innovates on the AK-74 design. The little nubbin on the front helps cycle the gas from firing the weapon back down the barrel, which moves and cycles another round to fire said second round before the recoil impulse from the first hits the shooter, which is modeled in the game similar to the Hammer's first 7 rounds, but this is more accurate to the real gun than that was. This gun is very rare, with only very few ever being seen in photos from the front lines. I don't believe I've seen any in the modern invasion of Ukraine, but supposedly it is still in service under this name. Here's the AK-12, and we're just going to reuse the audio from the Ghost video because the same thing applies here. Thank you very much. A modernized and upgraded version of the AK-74, which is currently in use by both sides in the war in Ukraine, with the Ukrainian Territorial Defense Forces managing to capture a number of them and put them to use against the Rusky bastards invading their homeland. Next up, we have the AR-160, which is basically the same as the ARX160 from COD Ghosts, but I can't reuse that audio. Surprisingly, Call of Duty actually has the right name here. The real gun is called the ARX160, and it is a real assault rifle made by Beretta and is used by the Italian military. For Battlefield 4, I actually have to give this weapon a lower rank than Call of Duty earned for this gun. In service, different name. Yes, the AUG A3. As a left-handed person, I have to complain about this gun. If you want to shoot this gun as a southpaw, you not only have to spend well over $1,500 minimum on the rifle itself, but you also have to buy a special left-handed bolt for a few $100s as well. You are spending around $2,000 for this thing when other bullpups can easily be converted with no extra parts, either by yourself or a gunsmith. Anyway, this is a real gun with the exact same name, and it is in service by the country that created it, Austria, and also in Australia, where it is called the AUG. Plenty of other countries use this weapon too, and it was also in Die Hard, which doesn't give bonus points, but I do love Die Hard. So, yeah, in service tier. Next, we have the Bulldog, and this is actually the first gun that was hard to research. The Bulldog is based on the SRSS Bulldog, which is a chassis for AR pattern rifles, but the company that makes it is now defunct and the webpage no longer exists. There is no Wikipedia page for this article, and on Gun Wiki, the article claims it was in service with the Philippine Special Forces, but the article listed as a source for that claim also now no longer exists. I couldn't find the weapon on the Wikipedia list of equipment for the Philippine Armed Forces. I have seen photographs of the weapon, but I can't find any evidence to support any claim that anyone uses it. So, I will put the weapon in the never adopted tier, unless you guys give any evidence in the comments for the correction section in the next video. Hey guys, the CZ805 is here again. Guess what? I'm reusing the audio from COD Ghosts. God, I love recycling. Next is the SA805, which is based on the original CZ805 Bren/Bren A1, which as of 2024 has been supplanted by the Bren 3, which has several improvements over the original design and is also really cool, and I also want one of those. Interestingly, the A1 is still in service now, but the phase-out program will actually be completed later this year. However, in countries like Vietnam, Mexico, Argentina, and the Philippines, they still use the A1 model in some roles. Next up, we have the F2000, which is based on the gun by the same name from FN Herstal. This is a bullpup rifle that lefties can use, since it ejects from the bottom. It's awesome, and I wish they still made the civilian version. It was one of the standard issue rifles of the Belgian Armed Forces for a long time, but it is now only used by the Special Forces group. It is also used by the Ukrainian defenders, since many old rifles were donated by Belgium as they were replaced by a later rifle on this list. This goes in the in-service tier. Next up, we have the FAMAS, which was, along with the AUG, one of the first successful bullpup rifles adopted by a military force. It is infamous for firing in 3-round bursts from a magazine that is not divisible evenly by 3. The variant included in the game is based on the Valoris variant, which is a rather modern upgrade. It is currently being replaced by the HK416, another rifle on this list, but it will remain in limited service until 2028, so for now, it remains in service. The L85 is based on the real L85 rifle, which was once considered the worst standard issue NATO rifle, but it has been fixed and is now mostly okay, even though it is also about to be replaced by the same rifle, which is replacing the FAMAS. It is still in service for now, however. The M16 is based on the M16, which we should all know. It's been in service for over 50 years. It is now on the A4 variant, but it is slowly being phased out in favor of the new M7 rifle, which is also replacing the M4 carbine as well. Spoilers for the carbine video. However, Even if the M16 goes out of service with the US military, it is so ubiquitous in service with other countries that it will be in the in-service tier for the next 50 years at least. Here we have the M416, not to be confused with the M4 or the M16. This is based on the HK416. This is the same weapon that the M27 is based on, but since it's not going under that name, we actually have to record a new segment. See, the HK416 is in service in a variety of countries, including the US as the M27 and replacing both the FAMAS and L86, but nowhere is it called the M416. I even used Control F on the Wikipedia entry for the HK416, and nowhere does the name M416 show up. This is a name change to avoid copyright issues with HK, and thus this gun goes into the in-service different name tier. Here's our first weapon from China, despite them being the main villains of the campaign. The QBZ-95 is based on a real Chinese bullpup assault rifle that is currently being replaced by the QBZ-191, aka the Great Keyholio, but it is still in service in China. Also, fun fact, the civilian export version was actually picked up by the Canadian Mounties for a little while. Next up, we have another bullpup, but one that hails from the beautiful island city-state of Singapore. Fun fact, this weapon is unlocked in the campaign by getting a bronze medal in the mission called Singapore. So I guess that's fitting. The Singaporean armed forces had some teething issues when this was adopted due to them training with a conventionally built M16 variant, but they implemented some design features that help with those problems, and the weapon is still in service today in Singapore as well as in places like Thailand and Sri Lanka with their special forces. Our last weapon for today is the Scar H, the 7.62 variant of the Scar from FN, which was originally designed for US Special Forces, but the light version is serving alongside the F2000 from earlier in use with the Belgian Armed Forces. All branches of US SOCOM, US Customs and Border Patrol, the LAPD SWAT unit, ground units in Ukraine, and many others have adopted the H variant and continue to make good use of it. In service. Thank you all for watching this video. I know it's been a long time coming, and I'm glad to finally have the first part out and finally done. We'll be doing the class-specific weapon categories first, then the universal primaries, and then releasing a supercut of all the primary weapons with all the secondaries included at the end. That means in the next video, we will be looking at the LMGs used by the support class. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys then.